everybody, it's Wendy. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here with me today. I have this beautiful card to show you today how to make, and I want to just get right started with it. This is being designed and created for a competition actually, and so I'm going to give you the link in the description below this video so that you can vote for my card over on Kylie Bertucci's blog. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I have a piece of 4" by 5¼ Whisper White cardstock, and I'm using a piece of painter's tape to just kind of hold that in place. I've lined it up on my grid paper so that it won't go anywhere. And then I'm taking my T-square ruler and I'm going to draw lines on the bottom about, I would say, 3/4 of the way down, and then at the top about 1/4 of the way up. Now, I'm not being super scientific about where these lines are going. I just need a good space in between to do my stamping of my flowers. I am using the Flowering Field stamp set to stamp the flowers, and I'm using all of the retiring in colors. So this is the Flowering Field stamp set that we're going to use. And this is the sentiment set, One Big Meaning. I'm going to use that little one up there, A Little Thanks. So when you start doing your stamping, this technique includes some masking. So I'm just taking a piece of scratch paper and I'm going to lay it down at that line that I drew. Sorry about the camera shake there. I'm laying it down at that line that I drew across the paper so that I am certain it's straight. And then I'll just hold it in place with one hand while I stamp with the other hand. Now, you heard me mention that I am using the 2014-2016 retiring in colors. This is Blackberry Bliss. And all of the colors I'm using on this today are colors that are no longer going to be available with Stampin' Up! So if you want any of these colors, I highly recommend that you purchase them from me in my online store. I would get the ink pads, the papers, re-inkers, markers, whatever you want in these colors, I would get them now. Because what will happen is come about April, end of April, we're going to have a retiring list come out. And when that retiring list comes out, all these colors will probably be on that list. Now, I can't guarantee that because I don't work at Stampin' Up! At the home office, but in years past, that's how it's always worked. So now I'm stamping Tangelo Twist, and I've previously stamped Hello Honey. These are beautiful colors, and they're just very rich and kind of like fall harvest colors, and I just love all of them. And they all go great together, in combination together. So definitely colors you want to have in your arsenal. And I will tell you, when they go on the retiring list, they sell out in no time flat. In fact, there's a couple of items already on the back order list. So if you get them now, you'll be guaranteed to get them. But if you wait, you could end up not getting them. So I used Lost Lagoon to stamp that one little blue flower behind the Hello Honey. And now I'm using Mossy Meadow to stamp this little twig with little pieces on the end of it. Now I'm going around the edges here to just add a little bit of filler so that there's not quite so much white space around these flowers. And then I'm going to take a piece of paper and stamp this just kind of up above the purple because I want to have like one of these twigs kind of coming out of the top. Then I can take my Mossy Meadow marker and draw a line down to connect that twig, or whatever you want to call it. My daughter said it looked like a weed. Going down through there so that you can see that it's growing up behind. Okay, so that's pretty much all my stamping for the flowers, and now we're going to do all of the fun ink blending. I did an ink blending video earlier this week, and I have one from a couple weeks ago, and I'm just kind of on a kick right now. So I've been adding a lot of ink blending to my projects. So this is a lot of fun to do, really easy. And again, I'm using the same colors that I've used to stamp all my projects here. I'm using the same colors to do the ink blending. So now you see I'm just masking, I'm using that line again, and I'm masking off the lower portion here. And I'm going to start doing my ink blending with, I almost said Daffodil Delight, Hello Honey. And we're going to just get that nice and inky and have a really nice base going. Now, it's interesting, from the top and the bottom, I ink differently, one from the top to the bottom, in the order that I use the inks, and it actually does give a different look. So that's something to bear in mind when you're ink blending. I started here with Hello Honey, and then I came in with the Tangelo Twist, and I'm adding it around the edges and the bottom, and leaving it, intentionally leaving some yellow spots, because that's the spots that are going to kind of look like they're glowing and give it some different look. When I ended up finishing this, now I'm coming in with the Blackberry Bliss to darken everything. When I finished this, I just loved how it turned out, because it gave this very antique, rustic look. And that was kind of exactly what I was going for with this card. So I absolutely love how it turned out on the bottom. And then I went ahead and did the top, but I did it in different order. I started this time with the Tangelo Twist instead of the Daffodil, or the Hello Honey. And this is going to give a more orangey hue to the top, and it actually ends up being quite a bit darker. So it's just interesting how you layer these inks. They can give you lots of different looks and feels. While I'm finishing up this ink blending, I just wanted to remind you, or share with you one more time, to make sure that you go over to the link that I've posted below and vote for my card. The winner of the competition or challenge, she's going to pick 5 winners, and they'll get a spot in one of her blog hops, and I'm excited to be part of that. So I'm hoping that I win. So hopefully you'll take the time to click that link in my description below and go over and vote for me. And in the description, you'll see where it says vote here, and then you just click that link. And so anyway, I'm adding all these inks. I finished with the Blackberry Bliss, and then I am done with all my ink blending. So now I can move on to the next phase of this card. Now I'm going to stamp a little butterfly right above, just so that I can fill in a little bit of that white space, and I just love the way it looks. And this little butterfly is in that Flowering Fields stamp set. The Flowering Fields stamp set is a stamp set that you cannot purchase, but you can get for free with a $50 order or more. So if you want to choose that as one of your free celebration items, then you can do that. I'm using a blender pen here and actually picking ink up just right off the ink pad and putting it onto this little butterfly. This probably is not recommended. I should just tell you that. You get a real concentrated ink color when you do that, and I'm not even cleaning this blender pen in between using them in the different ink pads, and I'm sure that makes some people cringe. But I'm just touching it right on the corner of the ink pad, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, so now I need to kind of dry all of this ink, because I'm going to do some heat embossing. But in order to do the heat embossing, I really need to make sure that this ink that I've sponged is dry, because that embossing powder will stick to anything that's not dry. And I'm going to show you here. When I tested it, I could see that not all the embossing powder fell off. So what I did is I cleaned all the embossing powder off, and I grabbed my heat tool and I heated it up and kind of dried that ink back a little bit, because it just wasn't dry enough when I did it the first time. So now I'm using the embossing buddy again to put powder on that area to avoid that extra embossing powder from sticking anywhere. I'm using Versamark ink and the sentiment "A Little Thanks," and just stamping it there, and then I'll use my white embossing powder to emboss that image and heat set it with my heat tool. So this really came out being beautiful. I felt like when I was looking at it, I thought, man, I could probably just do this and not add anything to this card, but I couldn't do that. I had to add something. So we'll get with that here in just a second. So I'm adding my dimensional tape that I purchased at my local hardware store onto the back of my card front. And I'm really covering the back of this well because I want it to pop up nice and I want it to be sturdy. I think when you do nice coverage, like with your foam tape and stuff, it just gives the card the feel of good craftsmanship, and that's super important to me. Okay, so I've done that, and now I need to add my ribbon. So I chose some ribbon that I thought would complement this very well. And I'm using the jute ribbon that I've cut down and made thinner. I'm using some Blackberry Bliss cotton ribbon, and I'm using some wild wasabi satin ribbon, I think is what that's called. And then I have some of the Venetian crochet ribbon, or trim. So I'm stacking them all up here in the order that I want them because I just want that green to kind of peek out. The Blackberry Bliss is perfect because it matches the card really nice. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of trimming here to get nice finished edges. And continue to stack all those ribbons together. And then I'm going to use a piece of linen thread to tie them all together and create kind of an embellishment. I think anytime you tie a bunch of ribbons together or put a bunch of layers together of something, it just is so pretty and fun and unique. And it really gave this card that little extra thing that it needed. I felt like that stark white needed to be broken up just a little bit with some other stuff added into the card. And it just came out brilliantly, which I was so pleased with. Because sometimes, we have an idea and it doesn't really come together the way we expected it to. And this is one of the instances that it did. And that made me super happy. So I'm just tying this linen thread all around and then making it into a bow and then kind of making the bow little. And then I'll trim off the excess. Now, a little tip for you, you can see that I'm using this linen thread while it's attached to the spool. And that just helps you save thread or ribbon, FYI. So I'm lining up, just kind of messing with this. I'm lining up this ribbon where I want it on my card. And then that's going to help me gauge where I'm going to chop it off. I wanted a nice blunt end with all these ribbons to line up with the edge of my card. So I'm going to use glue dots and go along the bottom of this ribbon piece against the jute ribbon and adhere all of these glue dots all the way across so that at least the bottom ribbon sticks down to the card really well and holds it in place. If you notice, I used a really nice pair of scissors. Those are craft scissors from Stampin' Up. They cut like butter. They're amazing. And so if you want a pair of those, you can pick those up in my online store. I highly recommend having a pair. I use them. I have two pairs, one that I use for just ribbon only, and then a pair that I will use on paper and other products just because I love them so much. They're just fantastic. So I'm just kind of now organizing my ribbon to get it exactly how I want it and get it to lay down. And that's it. That finishes off my card. I really love how this card turned out. I feel like it just is the perfect combo of old antique and pretty. And so if you want to watch any of my other videos, please click on the images that you see here and subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.